All right, everyone, welcome to pod number 30, coming at you from beautiful Cancun, Mexico, Margaritaville. We are doing a deep dive today on all things pay cut, pro player negotiations, and the creation of the Player Collective. We're going to be reading from quotes from the CNBC article from Jess Golden, and we're also giving you an update on USA Pickleball's statement regarding the sexual harassment claims and allegations filed against them that we talked about on the last pod. So don't go anywhere, you guys. It's pod 30.
Things are getting dirty.
You tuned in now to this pickleball life. I'm K-Dubs and Jilly B is my wife. She's the pro and I've got the filler. She's sweet to me, but on the court she's a killer. Unadulterated and efficiently bringing you the best and worst things in PB. Tell your friends and stay for another. And no one loves us more than your mother. One thing's for sure, one hit and you're addicted. Grab a pile, grab a court, don't resist it. So click subscribe, let's go, let's get cracking. Theme song done, let's go, let's get laughing. This pickleball life.
Welcome to your favorite comedy podcast, masked as a pickleball podcast with me, K-Dubs, founder of PB Gods, aspirational duper 4.5. That's right, I'm finally switching my duper because aspiration is for everyone. And my co-host,
Jilly B. What's up, everyone? Jill Braverman, pro pickleball player, former tech CEO and startup founder, and of course, co-host of TPL This Pickleball Life.
And winner of a trip to Margaritaville.
That's right.
We're in Margaritaville, baby.
Yep. If our background looks a little different, we are in Cancun. As a reminder, when you win MVP in MLP, you get a trip for two to Margaritaville. So we went to Margaritaville. This is our last day. It's been awesome. It's our first ever all-inclusive trip, actually.
Yeah, it's quite a concept. You just walk up and order, and then you go ahead and leave all day, every day. It's been really, really fun. Did not disappoint. Food's great.
Weather's awesome.
Held up. And there is pickleball.
Yeah, there
We've been
is
playing
pickleball.
every day.
We have been playing. The courts are gorgeous. And I love that like Margaritaville as a business is leaning into pickleball. I think pickleball's at like all of their locations now. Most of their locations.
I think they're aiming for all of them. We haven't visited all of them, but we will get to it. But yeah, it's the new gym. It's like you wouldn't go to a hotel and not expect to see a treadmill. Don't go to a hotel
that doesn't have pickleball.
To see pickleball.
Yeah.
It's for everyone. So anything else happened this week? It's pretty
funny.
Low-key week.
In terms of catching up, it's like every week for over a year, I have definitely uttered the words, pickleball can't get any crazier, y'all. Like this industry cannot get any crazier. And it's like the pickleball gods hear us. And then they say, watch this.
We got you.
So yeah, the past couple of weeks have been absolutely insane. And we're going to hop into all of it today.
Yeah, and if we slip into Espanol, it's just because Jill has been practicando toda la semana. Those of you may not realize, but Jill is fluent in Spanish, and she has impressed all of the staffers everywhere we go. Like, what? Two blonde chicks who speak Spanish?
I know. Cuando vivía en Madrid, todo el mundo me llamó rubia, blondie. Pero yes, I lived in Spain. And then did the same program, study abroad program in Italy too. But mi español es mucho mejor que mi italiano. So better Spanish than Italian.
Más oportunidades para practicar en América.
Y de verdad, porque en California hay muchísimos hispanohablantes.
Sí.
Entonces el
hay
resto
una palabra de toda la semana, ¿no?
What?
Hay una palabra que describió
toda
la semana.
Is there one word that describes the whole week?
Exceso.
Very funny.
I just love that the labels in Spanish are so clear, so in your face. Exceso azúcares, exceso calorías, exceso todo.
Exceso grasa. Yeah, you're buying like Ruffles chips and it's like exceso fat, exceso calories, exceso sugar. Like, don't buy this. I'm like, I'll take two of those.
Yes, please.
Two, please.
So anyway, we did have an update from last week's pod from USA Pickleball.
Right. So on our last podcast, we went deep dive on a few highly controversial topics, one of which was the active litigation against USA Pickleball and PPA and their employees, Don Pabin and Don Stanley. So we did reach out to USA Pickleball to see if we could get an official response to the podcast and these allegations and claims. And we did receive one from CEO Mike Nealy. So Kristen, do you want to read that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read it. Hi, Jillian. In response to your email, USAP has now inquired internally. Until the podcast, myself and our leadership were unaware of the complaint or the harassment or retaliation accusations contained in it. Since then, he has let us know that they have been officially served and are aware of all of it. Harassment of and retaliation against female players, referees, and employees is not tolerated in our organization. We have engaged an outside firm, are conducting an investigation, and encourage anyone with information about harassment or retaliation accusations contained in the complaint or referenced in the podcast to contact Gail Avisar, our managing director of legal compliance. We'll put her email in the description, but it is gavisar@usapickleball.org, as well as on the screen. So please share information with Gail. We've taken what we believe are appropriate interim steps during our investigation with respect to the two individuals identified in the complaint to ensure an impartial investigation and prevent retaliation. As one of the most influential organizations in pickleball, we are committed to being a leader in this area and ensuring a safe environment for everyone. In addition to investigating these accusations thoroughly and taking any appropriate remedial measures, we will be reviewing our policies and practices to determine whether we can do more to encourage more prompt reporting of any issues with our employees and the individuals we engage to help us with our work. Please respect this process. Thank you, Mike. That's Mike Nealy.
Right. And we've also heard since then that Don Pabin was head ref of an event in Florida when the podcast came out, and he left mid-event to the applause of the staff members there and the referees. So that was sent to us in a text message by one of the referees who was there. And then we heard yesterday that he has been officially suspended from USA Pickleball. But I did reach out to Justin Maloof, COO of USA Pickleball, and he said he would neither confirm nor deny that. But that was just something we heard from a USA Pickleball employee. What did you think about Mike's response, Kristen?
Well, I thought it was promising because it's definitely more than we've gotten in the past. And I do feel like it was the appropriate response. And I think all we can really hope for as a first step is for them to acknowledge and to open an investigation so that they can make their own determinations. Obviously, the legal case will have its own story arc, so to speak, and its own conclusions. But I think anyone can agree that for everything that USA Pickleball stands for, that this is something that they can hopefully prevent in the future more quickly and create safer spaces for people to explain and share their issues. Because I think that was a big part of the issue.
Is there an HR department? From what I understand, there isn't an official HR department. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And definitely at the time, there was no process or procedure in place for someone to have that safe space to go to and file a formal complaint. There is no, I think they call it like safe play. There's all these like messaging systems that we have now in place, even at MLP, where it's like, did you have an issue? File a complaint. Here's how you do it anonymously. So it seems like they're dedicated now. Looks promising, at least, to inputting these processes and procedures.
So obviously by no means is that the end of their efforts.
Just the beginning.
But I do think that that his email was everything I was looking for as a starting point.
Yep. And
so
remember, Mike, after USA Pickleball's Nationals fiasco, sent out a survey to all the players to tell us your thoughts, and then had a direct quote that said Nationals was not up to our expectations. And I respected that a lot, actually. PPA, I have no comment from them after the first time I reached out about this. So I am so used to receiving no comments or just being blocked by them that I encourage you, listener, to ask them what steps they are taking with their employee, Don Stanley. You can email PPA at info@ppatour.com. info@ppatour.com. ask them yourself. Let us know.
Yeah. And obviously don't hesitate to continue to reach out to us. We will help direct any messages to the right departments in this or any other kind of pickleball organizational news you might have. We're happy to be a conduit. We don't have all the answers, certainly, and we definitely don't have all the power, but we always want to be a place where people feel like they can share and find other people who perhaps have been experiencing some of the same things, and not necessarily things like this, but anything else you might want to share. We love your emails, and we love hearing from our fans. So keep it up. All right. Theme of the day.
It's the theme of the day.
Transparency is queen. We saw that.
Yeah.
We've seen that with the CNBC article we're going to start talking about. We've seen it with players being fed up at the lack of transparency. We've seen it with our last podcast as we talk about all these major claims and allegations, how transparency keeps leading to good things. Transparency is queen. So in that regard, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that, love him or not, Steve proved that transparency works.
Yeah.
You know, there was so much early on transparency in a way that very few sports, let alone the other entities in the sport of pickleball,
You're talking about Steve Kuhn, the founder of MLP.
Exactly.
And Duper.
Steve Kuhn really let it out with a lot of upfront and honesty, and I feel like MLP has always prided themselves on transparency. So I'm hopefully excited to see them get back to a little bit more of that, and not succumb to some of the other entities in this sport and their antics.
So many of y'all know how vocal we've been about this notion of a player association, a player collective. I think for the past 3 podcasts, I've hinted at, like, we're going to have an opportunity to really work together soon because we're going to have leverage. They, as in MLP and I guess now PPA, are going to ask us for something. And of course they did, right? On November 28th, they asked us, all 103 players, for a 40% across the board reduction. And so it's really been since then a fight for our life, and a fight really, again, for theme of the day, transparency. So there was a CNBC article that was recently released, and I'm going to read directly from that to catch everyone up on what's been going on in the pro world of pickleball the past week. The title of the CNBC article by Jess Golden was "Pro Pickleball Players Band Together as Chaos, a Merger, and Pay Cuts Grips the Sport." So we all know on November 28th, players were asked to take a 40% pay cut in return for a reduction of work obligations to help the league become financially viable over the long term. The article continues. MLP and PPA Tour are currently negotiating a proposed merger. A player is quoted, "We understand the economic reality of pay cuts. However, lies, threats, deceitfulness, false deadlines, and the refusal to honor written addendums and agreements have no place in the league that we know and love. If we're going to collaborate on contract modifications, we deserve honest answers to honest questions, and we have not received them." CNBC spoke with multiple players who say they feel like they've been unfairly treated or received threats for not agreeing to the proposed pay cuts. Many players were not so much against the proposed cuts, but the lack of transparency in the way the leagues have handled it. They all spoke on the condition of anonymity out of fear of retribution. Despite the proposed merger still being in the works, the players say PPA Tour CEO Connor Pardo did a lot of the negotiating with MLP players over their contracts, which they found unusual. Many say they had chosen MLP over the PPA Tour to get away from Pardo, and now they're being forced to negotiate with him. One player said they were threatened that if they don't take the pay cut by the following day, the cuts would increase from 60% from 40%. The player requested additional information for a written proposal, which the league failed to provide him. MLP pay ranges from $30,000 to $2 million a year, according to an owner who spoke to CNBC on the condition of anonymity. Other players said they were threatened by MLP and PPA Tour leadership that if they didn't take the cuts, they may be scheduled to work in the developmental program, coaching clinics or camps, even on their own kids' birthdays. We decided to form the collective in response to the immoral, unethical, and arguably illegal negotiation tactics One player said, "We decided to form the collective in response to the immoral, unethical, and arguably illegal negotiation tactics that are being used. The collective represents the interests of the vast majority of MLPs, approximately 100 players, according to former MLP Challenger champ and MVP, myself, Jill Braverman. The group started as a WhatsApp chat. It's evolved into a forum where players can collectively share their experiences. Braverman said they have received funding from an angel and have hired both an employment attorney and an antitrust attorney. One owner told CNBC he hopes the collective is a wake-up call to other owners about the proposed merger and how dire things have become. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, he says. Players are not happy. It's not going well. They feel rightfully aggrieved." The owner declined to be named. He was discussing confidential matters. Richie Twazin, who owns the MLP California Black Bears, said he sees the value of the collective, especially as many players don't even have agent representation. Moving in the direction of a unified player voice is only a positive thing for pickleball, Richie said. The collective's letter to MLP stakeholders, which included all team owners, also included a survey reflecting the opinions of roughly 65 players. When asked whether the players felt they'd been treated fairly during the negotiation process, 89% said no. The vast majority, 92%, said MLP leadership had failed to successfully answer the majority of their questions. The poll results regarding the PPA Tour were even more damaging, with 57% saying they have felt victimized, harassed, or bullied by the rival league. More than 75% said Connor Pardone, the PPA Tour leadership, are not of high moral character and integrity. Now, this is me speaking. Not one person in the survey marked yes. So I thought that was in some ways more damaging than 75% saying they didn't feel that the PPA is of high moral character and integrity. The other 25% said just like decline to answer or I'm not certain.
Yeah.
Last thing, MLP said they are at capacity and they're not doing any more reductions. It added that if players who have accepted a reduction would want to change back to the original deals, quote, "we would be open to that." Pickleball Union, a pickleball news website, and the collective challenged these claims. The claims that MLP has stated that 85% have accepted pay cuts. After reaching out to players and agents, they, Pickleball Union, determined the number of people to have accepted the cuts to be closer to 25 to 30% at best. And then the league ended the letter to players with a warning. If the merger is not completed by January 31st, 2024, these new agreements will be null and void and deals will revert to the contracts you signed with MLP or PPA, which will leave the future viability and sustainability of MLP uncertain, the letter says. And I think what's so interesting about that is in one letter to players, you have, "Oh, we're not doing any more reductions. Keep your contracts. We're fine.
You want to go back on your contract, you can have all your money."
And then in the same letter, it says, "We just did a capital call. We raised all this money. We did a Dutch auction for Premier and Challenger. We raised all this money." But then you're ending this letter with, "But if we don't do the merger, we're all dead." So it's a
weird.
little bit of speaking from both sides of their mouths. And it's also this notion of we've signed 85% of players to reductions, but then Pickleball Union, the collective, and the players themselves are doing the math that's just not accurate. So we go back to the theme of the pod, transparency being queen. Why not just honor us with transparency?
Exactly. To me,
tell us what you need.
I would say, okay, if I'm a regular fan of the ins and outs of the pickleball tours, why would a player take a pay cut? Because I do think there are real reasons why a player would take a pay cut.
I think the player would take a pay cut if they truly felt that they were being grossly overpaid for their services. I know in my case, I don't feel that way at all. I'm sure there are some players who are like, "Hey, I'm 24 years old. I don't know if I need like $500,000 a year or XYZ a year." Like,
Okay, yeah, here's some of that back. And what would you say to the idea that MLP needs the players to take a cut for the future viability, as they say, of their tour?
I think that it's hard because I think that not all cuts are equal. Right. So the last thing you want as a team owner is your assets, your primary assets, who are your players, angry or feeling like undervalued. And there are probably a lot of cuts to be made in other places, a lot of avenues for raising additional money. You know, pickleball is America's most popular asset, our hottest, most attractive asset right now, fastest growing sport. There's just a ton of interest. 60 days ago, team valuations were $10 million. So, you know, you're coming to the players and asking them to absorb the majority of the cuts, but are there other avenues?
Right.
Or is there a different number, not 40, but 20 or 15 or 10?
That would make more sense for everyone.
I think what's so interesting, something you said earlier that I hadn't thought of, is Steve Kuhn was like king of transparency. He was king
Absolutely.
of like probably too much transparency. You know, he would get on calls when I was running Duper and he'd be like, yeah, no, the algorithm's not perfect. We're still figuring it out. And I'd be like, you know, elbowing him. And then after
It's pretty good.
And then after the call, you know, and it was great, by the way. It was
Points are coming back.
its predictive power was awesome. But after the call, invariably, whoever we were speaking with would be like, you know, I wasn't sure about you guys until Steve actually said, we don't have this all figured out. We're working on it. And that was a big teaching moment for me, that like transparency in all aspects, vulnerability is a good thing. It's a good thing in business.
Totally. And
I feel like we lost that transparency.
Mm-hmm. I think in this day and age, what we're seeing a lot of companies in general do is more on the like virtue signaling stuff and like trying to be altruistic and like, here's where our donations are going, and everyone's trying to be the most honest business person they can be, and money is going towards companies and entities that people feel good about. They choose their department store based on how good they feel about it. They choose their gas station based on how good they feel about it. And I don't think pickleball would be any different. I think people's eyeballs are going to choose the entities that they think are treating players fairly and sponsors fairly, and are out to, as we always say, spread the joy. So
one thing
I don't think it's out of a question to put an internal value on transparency and honesty.
And I've been asked a lot, Jill, are you the leader of the collective? And the answer to that is no. There is no one leader to the 100-person collective. It's a bunch of us, right? It's all of us working for mutual aid and protection with the singular goal of transparency and fairness.
Absolutely.
That is the mission of the collective.
It's easy to look at the collective as like, okay, let's all band together and bargain for the best deal as a group. But really, the collective is about way more than this one moment in pickleball.
100%.
The collective is actually about helping the
and
entity
longevity.
Have a more efficient way of communicating with the players and understanding what the players want in all things and in all future
the collective at this
issues.
point has sent 3 letters to MLP and has not received an official response, which I think is head-scratching. Truly head-scratching. Just for some more background, I don't lead the collective, but I will say 2 Fridays ago, I led a call. I invited all the players and all the agents. And the purpose of that was to debunk these 5 myths that were happening that we were hearing from MLP and PPA. So I spoke for like 10 minutes on the call. I think we had like 60 players and agents on this first call. And then the collective formed organically from there. And I think really PPA players should join the collective, because from what I understand is on January 1st, if this merger transpires, they're actually in for a world of pain. I have it on really good authority from a source who called me yesterday, who hasn't been wrong about one thing he has shared with me in the past month. And he said PPA players are going to have their event requirement cut probably in half.
Interesting.
And as such, they're going to have their pay cut.
But it's been pretty widely talked about that the general way that each entity, PPA, MLP, design their contracts in different ways, right? Jill obviously can't speak to her contract specifically, but it seems like from what we've heard that the PPA is going to adjust their players based on the way they have arranged their contracts based on the number of events versus the number of days. So we'll see what becomes of that. But I mean, you've kind of spoken about fairness.
Right.
If you see PPA players getting cut by 20, 30, 40%, does that make you feel more fair or less fair towards the treatment of players?
No, probably less, because less or equal to now. It doesn't make me happy that my fellow players should be in for an equal world of
course
hurt.
Not. Of course not. But when you're calling for fairness, just to be clear.
Right. No, because what would be fair and transparent would have been, sitting us all down, kind of at the same time, like
Yeah.
just have one huge group call. The inefficiencies of doing this one-on-one with players. And it's funny, after MLP sent that letter that said, we're no longer looking for reductions, you can't even get one if you want one. And if you want to revert and you accepted one, go ahead and revert. After they did that, they spent all weekend calling players. Like I had 3 players call me and say, I'm getting asked to finalize my reduction. And they just sent this letter saying they're not looking for that. So again, I go back to just like, be transparent, sit all the PPA players down, sit all the MLP players down, get us all in a room, explain what you want and why you want it and how we could go about it all together. But instead we're doing these continuing these super inefficient, super opaque one-on-one conversations.
Look, and I get there's a time and a place not to get 100 people asking questions all at once, but at the end of the day, most people have the same questions. So if 100 people get asked and answered the same 3 to 5 questions and everybody learns together, that saves everyone's time. And when you isolate people into specific conversations, it ends up feeling like you're separating 2, perps in an interrogation room instead of open and honest and transparent.
And there's a lot more we could say on the collective and the killer attorneys that have been hired and next steps, but I think I feel more comfortable just reading what we did from the CNBC article. That's public information.
No, I think that's
but
funny.
I will say that the collective is just getting started.
Yeah.
It's just getting started. And it's going to be around for a long, long time.
So let's take a quick break, talk about Ruck for a second, and we'll be right back. So, in case you missed it this week, Zillow just released a findings that 65% more households used the word pickleball in their listings. So obviously it is becoming a selling point for more than just pickleball companies.
I am ready to, I haven't told you this, but I'm ready to tear up our very narrow backyard and just create a singles
Oh my
court.
God, totally. Why did we not think of this sooner?
I want to so badly. Even if it's just a skinny kitchen court.
Yeah, I wonder
just
if you
a kitchen.
could create a combo that could go horizontal or vertical. I don't think
I'm
so.
ready. I'm ready.
Oh man. So
You think I'm kidding?
I wonder how many houses will build actual pickleball courts in their backyards. I'd like to see that stat too. This is obviously just saying like there's pickleball nearby, or just built a pickleball court a mile from here, or we have pickleball in the facility.
There's this thing called millennial porn, and millennial porn is at night, you're in bed with your significant other, you pull out your phone and you open that blue app. Zillow
talk.
Okay, we stole that joke from an SNL skit with Dan leaving like a year ago. We'll put the link in the comments. It's really funny. Anyway, so yeah, sometimes late at night I pull out that app and I Zillow and I look at houses with pickleball courts in our area.
You'd think us living in the desert would help, but somehow we're still stuck. So not only Zillow, but also results from Match.com.
No way.
Over the last year, we have seen an increase of more than 300% of users who mention pickleball in their bios across Tinder, Hinge, Plenty of Fish, and OkCupid. So very interesting. I guess I'm forgetting that Match is now the parent company for all of them.
Yes.
I was like, what about Match? So that must include all of the subsidiaries of Match and their other dating apps. So yeah, people are out there, young and old, or old and young, I should say. Also, in case you missed it, the PGA Tour players also have banded into a group of players of 21 who found a lawyer who wrote a stern letter to the PGA Tour in regard to this new merger with LIV, which, as we continue to mention, has closely matched a lot of the parallels of PTA.
Is pickleball
and
following
MLP.
golf, or is golf following pickleball? I'm a little fuzzy on this because there's been a merger, a breakup, a collective formed, an attorney letter.
All we're missing is Saudi money.
They say life is imitating art is imitating life. Life is imitating art. It's really pickleball imitating golf.
Totally. Hopefully we can continue to imitate golf's lion's share of the
Media rights yep.
and the buying power of the sport. So golf is much more expensive, but pickleball is finding its ways to own more paddles, more backpacks.
So in this letter that the PGA Tour, that 21 golfers sent, it was basically asking the tour, we have hired representation, we are forming this collective, and we want transparency.
They call it full disclosure.
Okay.
Yeah, but same exact idea.
And
they just don't want to be kept in the dark.
And basically a vote of no confidence in the executive leadership team of the PGA, which is really what the collective is saying. We have a vote of no confidence in our pickleball leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there it is. Golf, pickle, same old problems. Anything else to add about that?
No, I just think that's super, super interesting.
One of my former teammates or men's team teammates on the golf team at Texas, Dylan Fratelli, was listed in that letter. So Dylan, I hope you're getting the answers you are seeking.
Nice.
Great guy, great golfer. Help me with my South African accent.
Nice.
Yeah. So when he first showed up at Texas, he kept trying to order a glass of water, and they were very confused. So he had to learn how to say water like a Texan. But he did. He learned.
I love that.
He figured it out.
So for tournaments coming up, we have the PPA Masters in January, actually right in our backyard. And frankly, I don't know if I'm playing in that or not. I don't know if there's going to be a boycott from players on it. I don't know if MLP players are allowed to play in it. I think it's public information that those agreements are exclusive. As such, players most likely, I'd have to imagine, would have to request permission to play if this, merger is not done by then, or even if it is done by then.
Yeah. I mean, in the history of mergers between the PPA and MLP, they have proven to take a long time. So it'll be interesting if they somehow figure out how to speed this up.
If I were to play, I'd play mixed with Jaume Martinez Vic, and I'd probably play singles. I think I'm ready to debut singles, feeling really good.
Wait.
I'm dying to get back to my old singles days. So yeah, it's really interesting. We've heard about, in the past, PPA leaked to the Dink that if MLP players didn't accept pay cuts, they wouldn't be able to play PPA events. So yeah, I've had some friends reach out and members of the collective request permission to play the Masters and haven't heard back. So super interesting.
Yeah, we will keep you posted on that one. But it is nice to have some tournaments so close to home. It would be kind of
even
ironic.
if I'm a spectator.
Hey, I won a gold medal there last year.
You did.
Let's go, Mimi. All right, so we have not forgotten about our giveaway this week. We've really been on track with the giveaways. I think we've done a giveaway the last 4 pods.
Let's go.
So this week's giveaway is coming from me, PB Gods. Let's go. We want to remind everyone to spread the joy of pickleball. I know we've had a lot of kind of darkness over the pods the last few weeks, but we are excited to continue to share the joy. And so if you comment pickleball is joy on this pod and you follow PB Gods on Instagram, you are eligible for a pickleball is joy package deal.
Oh, nice.
That will be a hat and a shirt.
That's cool.
Of your choosing. So spread the joy, spread the love. I also created some tumblers.
Ooh.
That also have the logo of the pod on there. So we'll throw the tumbler in there as well. So it's a 3-part giveaway.
So tumbler, hat, and shirt?
Yes.
Could it be a current mood pickleball like what I'm wearing, or is that a sweater?
We might do a different giveaway for the current mood pickleball.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice giveaway. All right. Yeah. Can I play the giveaway?
I'm so stingy. Dale doesn't even have a tumbler.
I don't even get the tumbler. Oh, well, that's awesome.
So spread the joy.
we had a super interesting Dear Jilly B write-in that was not really a write-in, but an Instagram DM to me. That's right. If you DM me on Instagram and ask me for advice, the odds are very high I am going to personally respond. So we had a write-in that said, he loved his Hessacore grip. He was writing to let me know, which, by the way, after we did that last video on Hessacore, they sold out. They just got back in stock 2 days ago. So
they're probably sold out by the time you're seeing this.
They might be sold out.
Let us know.
Go to their website, and if they're not sold out, you are very lucky and get a grip quickly.
Yeah, if you guys didn't realize, these Hessacore grips are a hexagonal pattern that goes in between the actual grip and your overgrip. And it creates this magical sort of cradle for your knuckle on your index finger, and just an added amount of cushion. So it obviously helps anyone who wants a thicker grip or has arthritis or has any elbow pain, pickleball elbow, any tendinitis. And it just feels so good.
Feels so good. It's like a hug for your hand.
To put my hands on my grip now.
That's actually true. So he was writing in on Instagram to let me know he loved his grip, and he said he played it in a tournament and he's having nightmares after being up 10-8 in the third and missing a drop, and they lost. So what I wrote him back was this notion of don't drop drip, right? So a drip is a combination. I call it a drive drop or a drip, because what you're trying to do here is hit a shot that's 99% over the net. And in the green or in the blue, in the boxes, right? Or in the box. So I try and think of this drop drive combo as like super calm, super slow. I'm trying to feel the ball on my paddle for as long as possible. So it's a drive, but I'm swinging really slow. Again, I'm trying to hit a shot that is a 99 out of 100 of the times going in the court, just to give your opponents the chance to miss the fourth. Give them the opportunity down 8-10 to be tight, get that drive on their paddle, swing too big at it, or miss it in the net because they've just got some tension in their arm, right? So if you haven't tried the drip, and this is something, by the way, we did at MLP all the time with the New York Hustlers. We would say, hey, it's 2018. What do you want to do right here? Because with the elimination of the freeze, right, in the last MLP, you really had to have a plan together once you got to 20. Because if you didn't have a plan together on the third,
they'd flip that script on you real quick.
Right. All of a sudden, you are in a total disadvantage. So what we did with the Hustlers was we dripped. We drive dropped almost every single time at 20.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of what I say to my golf students, which is, it's not about how good your best shot is.
Yeah.
It's about how good your worst shot is.
That's really well said.
There's definitely a time and a place for the get the ball in play, lay it up off the tee, so to speak. But as Tom Kite always told me, there's no such thing as a conservative swing, only conservative strategy. So it's important that this doesn't turn into steery-guidey.
Yeah.
We're hitting an assertive, smooth shot to a place, which actually reminds me a lot of how you always describe your passing shots in singles.
Right.
It's not about
super
power.
Smooth.
It's not about like crazy, miraculous corner spin shots. It's just hit that spot, smooth, and really connecting to your targets.
And on that topic, the biggest advice I can give you if you're having trouble driving the ball, other than, weighting your paddle a little bit in different areas, is go play singles. I was having trouble driving the ball 2 weeks ago in doubles, and I was like, what am I doing? Am I over swinging? Like, I'm all over the place, and I love my drives. And I went and I played some singles. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just swinging too fast. I got to swing slower. Like when I played with Connor Garnett at Nationals, he goes, hey, can you drive the ball a little slower? It gives me time to get up to the net. Yeah. So I just think there's this instinct in us when we go to drive the ball. We're trying to freaking nail that thing. We're trying to hit that thing as hard as we can. We're trying to hit it fast. Should be the opposite. Feel it on your paddle longer.
Absolutely. Well, I loved that question. So keep writing in thispblife@gmail.com or DM Jill on Instagram. I do believe we're still waiting to hear back from last week's giveaway winner. So check your inbox. We have...
we gave away Case of Rain, right?
Yeah, we have sent the winning formula to your comment, and you need to email us back.
All right, well, if you don't do that, we're giving it away to someone else next week.
We're going to redo that giveaway,
Yeah.
But thanks for listening. That was pod number 30.
And don't forget, pickleball is joy.
Don't let anyone tell you differently.
We out.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by K-Dubs, editing by K-Dubs and Jilly B. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for Jilly B? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.
And I was going to say, well, Jill's put her sunglasses on and she's kicking back, so I guess the pod's over.